Hello and welcome. In this episode, learn about Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was one of the most famous leaders in history. He was a brave warrior, a smart king, and a great dreamer. Born more than 2,000 years ago in a place called Macedonia, near Greece, Alexander showed courage and intelligence even as a young boy. He believed that nothing was impossible. His life became a story of big dreams, hard work, and great achievements. From a young age, Alexander wanted to learn about the world. He had a great teacher named Aristotle, one of the best minds in history. Aristotle taught Alexander about science, history, and how to think clearly. These lessons helped Alexander become a wise and strong leader. When he was just 20 years old, Alexander became king after his father was killed. Most young men at this age are still learning, but Alexander was ready to lead. He quickly showed that he was not an ordinary ruler. He wanted to do something no one had done before, to unite the world under one rule. He led his army across thousands of miles, winning battle after battle, from Greece to Egypt, and from Persia to India. Alexander was not only a fighter. He also wanted to bring people together. He respected different cultures, languages, and religions. In every new land he conquered, he treated people with kindness and often kept their leaders in power. He encouraged marriages between his soldiers and local women and built cities where people of different cultures could live together. His dream was to make the world one big family. His leadership inspired millions. His soldiers followed him through deserts, mountains, and dangerous lands because they believed in him. Even today, more than 2,000 years later, people still study his life and leadership. Alexander the Great died young, at the age of 32, but his name lives on. His life is a powerful lesson for students and dreamers. With courage, learning, and vision, anything is possible. Alexander showed us that a single person can change the world. His story continues to inspire people to lead, explore, and dream big. Chapter 1: Birth and Royal Lineage of Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great was born in 356 BCE in a city called Pella, the capital of the ancient kingdom of Macedonia. His full name was Alexander III of Macedon. From the moment he was born, many people believed he was special. His parents were powerful and important people in the kingdom. His father was King Philip II of Macedonia. Philip was a strong and clever king who had made Macedonia a powerful country. He trained a strong army and united many Greek cities under his rule. Philip was also a great speaker and leader. He dreamed of conquering the Persian Empire, one of the largest empires in the world at that time. Alexander's mother was Queen Olympias. She came from a royal family in a place called Epirus. Olympias was known for her strong spirit and deep beliefs. She followed the religion of her people and believed that gods played an important part in life. She often told Alexander that he was not just a normal boy, but someone with a special purpose. Some stories say that she believed Alexander was the son of a god, not just a king. Because of his royal birth, Alexander grew up in a palace surrounded by luxury. But life was not just easy and comfortable. From a young age, he was trained to be strong and brave. He learned to ride horses, fight with swords, and lead people. His father wanted him to become a great warrior and future king. Alexander also grew up listening to stories of Greek heroes like Achilles, who fought in the Trojan War. These stories made him dream of doing great things. He wanted to become a hero like them and make his name known across the world. Even as a child, Alexander showed signs of greatness. Once, when he was only 12 years old, he tamed a wild horse named Bucephalus. No one else could control the horse, but Alexander noticed it was afraid of its shadow. He turned the horse toward the sun and calmed it down. Everyone was amazed, and his father said, "My son, you must find a kingdom big enough for your dreams. Macedonia is too small for you." Alexander's royal family gave him the power, education, and chances to become a leader. But it was his own courage, smart thinking, and big dreams that helped him rise to greatness. His birth and royal lineage were only the beginning of an incredible journey. Chapter 2: Education under Aristotle. When Alexander the Great was a young boy, his father, King Philip II, wanted to give him the best education possible. He chose a very wise and famous teacher named Aristotle. Aristotle was one of the greatest thinkers in ancient Greece. He was a student of Plato and later became a teacher to many students. King Philip invited Aristotle to come to Macedonia to teach his son, and Aristotle agreed. Alexander was about 13 years old when he started learning from Aristotle. Their school was not in a normal classroom. It was held outside, in a quiet and peaceful place called the Temple of the Nymphs. Here, Alexander and a few other boys from noble families studied with Aristotle every day. Aristotle taught Alexander many subjects. He taught him philosophy, which means the love of wisdom. He also taught science, medicine, history, geography, and politics. Alexander learned how the world works, how people think, and how to make good decisions. Aristotle also taught him to ask questions and find answers using reason. This kind of thinking helped Alexander become a smart and fair leader later in life. One of the most important things Alexander learned from Aristotle was the idea of balance. Aristotle believed that people should not have too much or too little of anything. He taught Alexander to be brave, but not foolish, to be kind, but not weak. These lessons helped shape Alexander's character as a ruler. Aristotle also gave Alexander books to read, including the famous story of the Trojan War. Alexander loved the story of Achilles, the great Greek warrior. He saw Achilles as a hero and wanted to be like him. He even kept a copy of the book The Iliad with him during his long journeys. Under Aristotle's guidance, Alexander grew not only in knowledge but also in wisdom. He learned to respect other cultures, think deeply, and understand people from different lands. These lessons helped him later when he became king and traveled far from Macedonia. Alexander's education did not only prepare him to fight battles. It prepared him to build cities, bring peace, and lead people from many countries. His love for learning never ended, even during his military campaigns. He always wanted to explore new lands, learn new ideas, and bring people together. The time Alexander spent with Aristotle was very important in his life. It gave him the tools to become not only a great warrior but also a wise and thoughtful leader. Many historians believe that without Aristotle's teaching, Alexander might not have achieved so much. Education gave Alexander the power of knowledge, and this power helped him shape the world. His story shows us that a great leader needs both strength and wisdom. Chapter 3: Ascension to the Macedonian Throne. Alexander the Great became king of Macedonia when he was only 20 years old. His journey to the throne began with a sad and sudden event. In 336 BCE, Alexander's father, King Philip II, was killed during a celebration. He was murdered by one of his own bodyguards. This shocking event changed Alexander's life forever. At the time of his father's death, Alexander was still very young. Some people did not believe he was ready to be king. Many powerful men in the kingdom thought they could take control. Some cities and enemies also saw this as a chance to break away from Macedonia. But Alexander acted quickly and bravely. He took control and became king, just as his father had planned before he died. After becoming king, Alexander made sure that there was peace in Macedonia. He stopped anyone who tried to challenge his rule. He also made strong decisions to show he was a powerful and confident leader. Even though he was young, he was not afraid. His army and people saw his courage and began to support him. Alexander also followed many of his father's plans. King Philip had worked hard to unite the Greek city-states under Macedonian rule. Alexander promised to continue this goal. Soon after becoming king, he led his army to the south, where some Greek cities were trying to rebel. He moved fast and showed great leadership. The cities quickly surrendered and accepted him as their new leader. One of the most famous stories from this time is about the city of Thebes. The people of Thebes tried to fight against Alexander. But he attacked the city with great force and won. He destroyed much of Thebes to show that no one should rebel. This action was strong and firm, but it made the other cities respect and fear him. They now understood that Alexander was not a weak or soft king. After securing Greece, Alexander turned his attention to the Persian Empire. His father had dreamed of conquering Persia, and now Alexander wanted to complete that dream. But first, he made sure his kingdom was safe and strong. He prepared his army and made plans for his long journey to the east. Alexander's rise to power was not easy. He had to deal with danger, fear, and big responsibilities at a young age. But he showed that he had the heart and mind of a true king. His bravery, quick decisions, and strong will helped him win the trust of his people. This moment in Alexander's life was very important. It was the beginning of his great journey across the world. As the new king of Macedonia, he was ready to follow his dreams and become one of the greatest leaders in history. Chapter 4: Campaigns against the Persian Empire. After becoming the king of Macedonia, Alexander the Great wanted to follow his father's dream. His father, King Philip II, had planned to fight the Persian Empire, the largest and most powerful empire at that time. Now, Alexander was ready to lead the Macedonian army and continue that mission. In 334 BCE, Alexander crossed a narrow sea called the Hellespont with about 40,000 soldiers. This was the beginning of his great campaign against Persia. He stepped onto the land of Asia and threw a spear into the ground. He said he had come to take Asia as a gift from the gods. It was a powerful sign that he was ready to conquer. The first big battle happened at a river called the Granicus. The Persian army was waiting there. Alexander led his men with great courage and won the battle. It was a strong start. Many Greek cities in Asia, which were under Persian control, welcomed him as a hero and opened their gates. After that, Alexander moved south along the coast. He wanted to control the sea, so the Persian navy could not stop him. He took city after city, including Sardis and Miletus. But the next big test came at the Battle of Issus in 333 BCE. Here, Alexander faced King Darius III, the ruler of Persia, for the first time. The Persian army was much bigger than Alexander's army, but Alexander used smart plans. He led a surprise attack straight at Darius. The Persian soldiers became afraid when they saw Darius leave the battlefield. Alexander won the battle and captured many treasures. He also found Darius's family, but treated them with great respect. Next, Alexander moved to the city of Tyre. The people of Tyre did not want to surrender, so Alexander had to fight hard. He built a long bridge to reach the island city and finally won after a long siege. He also took control of Egypt without a fight. The people there welcomed him, and he founded a new city called Alexandria. In 331 BCE, Alexander faced Darius again at the Battle of Gaugamela. This was the most important battle. Once again, the Persian army was larger, but Alexander was faster and smarter. He led his men bravely and won a great victory. Darius ran away, and soon after, he was killed by his own men. This marked the end of the Persian Empire. Alexander now controlled a huge part of the world. He entered the Persian capital cities, Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis. He took the treasures and shared them with his soldiers. But he also showed respect for Persian customs and people. He wanted to rule not just as a conqueror, but as a fair king. The campaigns against Persia made Alexander famous around the world. He defeated the greatest empire of his time. But he did not stop there. His dream was to explore and rule even more of the world. Chapter 5: Battle of Issus and Conquest of Egypt. After winning his first battles in Asia, Alexander the Great moved forward with his army. In 333 BCE, he faced one of the most important battles of his life, the Battle of Issus. This battle was special because Alexander had to fight King Darius III, the ruler of the powerful Persian Empire. The two armies met near a place called Issus. The Persian army was much larger, but Alexander did not feel afraid. He believed in his soldiers and his battle plan. Alexander always fought in the front lines with his men. This gave them courage and made them trust him more. At Issus, the Persian army tried to trap Alexander's forces. But Alexander moved quickly and led a strong attack. His horsemen charged at the Persian center where Darius was standing. Darius became scared and ran away from the battlefield. When the Persian soldiers saw their king run, they also ran. This gave Alexander a great victory. After the battle, Alexander found Darius's mother, wife, and children in the royal camp. Instead of hurting them, he treated them with kindness and respect. This showed that Alexander was not only a strong warrior but also a noble and fair man. People across the region began to respect him even more. After defeating Darius at Issus, Alexander continued his journey. He went south, along the coast, and captured many cities. One of the most difficult cities to conquer was Tyre. It was a rich city on an island in the sea. The people refused to let Alexander enter, so he decided to build a bridge to reach the city. It took 7 long months, but in the end, Alexander won the battle. Then, in 332 BCE, Alexander arrived in Egypt. Egypt was under Persian control, but the people there did not like Persian rule. When Alexander entered, the Egyptians welcomed him as a hero and a liberator. They were happy to see a new leader who respected their customs and gods. In Egypt, Alexander visited many important places. One of the most special places he visited was the Oracle of Ammonius at Siwa Oasis in the desert. There, the priests told Alexander that he was the son of a god. This made him feel even more confident in his mission to rule the world. Alexander also founded a new city in Egypt called Alexandria. He chose the location carefully, near the sea, so it could become a great center for trade, learning, and culture. Alexandria would later become one of the most famous cities in the ancient world. The Battle of Issus and the conquest of Egypt were big steps in Alexander's journey. He had defeated the Persian king once and earned the love of the Egyptian people. These victories made him stronger, wiser, and more respected by all. His dream of building a great empire was becoming real. Chapter 6: Founding of Alexandria. After winning many battles and being welcomed in Egypt, Alexander the Great had a new idea. He wanted to build a city. Not just any city, but a great city that would carry his name and become a center of learning, trade, and culture. This city would be called Alexandria. In 331 BCE, Alexander chose the perfect place for the new city. It was near the Nile River and the Mediterranean Sea. This location was important because it made trade easy by both land and sea. The land was flat, the water was close, and the sky was open. Alexander believed it was the best place to build something new and grand. Alexander did not build the city himself. He gave orders and ideas to his architects and planners. He told them how wide the streets should be and where the markets, temples, and public buildings should go. The city was planned with straight roads, large open spaces, and clean lines. It was very modern for its time. Even though Alexander left Egypt soon after starting the city, his dream was carried on by others. The city grew quickly. Many people came to live there: Greeks, Egyptians, Jews, and others. They brought their cultures, languages, and knowledge with them. Alexandria became a place where people from different lands lived and worked together in peace. One of the most famous parts of Alexandria was the Library of Alexandria. It was one of the largest libraries in the ancient world. Scholars came from many countries to read books, study science, and share ideas. The library held thousands of scrolls with knowledge about history, medicine, astronomy, and more. It became a symbol of learning and wisdom. Another amazing part of the city was the Lighthouse of Alexandria, also called the Pharos of Alexandria. It was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world. The lighthouse helped ships safely enter the busy port of the city. It stood tall and strong, guiding sailors through the sea with its shining light. Alexandria was not just a city of buildings. It was a city of dreams. It showed how Alexander wanted to unite the world, not just through war, but through knowledge and culture. He respected the local customs and religions. In Alexandria, people could worship in temples, visit markets, or study in schools. Everyone was welcome. Even though Alexander died young, his city lived on. For many centuries, Alexandria remained one of the most important cities in the world. It became a center of trade, education, and art. The founding of Alexandria showed Alexander's vision for the future. He wanted to create a world where different people could live together, share knowledge, and grow. Alexandria was his gift to the world, and it still carries his name today. Chapter 7: Battle of Gaugamela and Fall of Darius. After his great victory in Egypt and the founding of Alexandria, Alexander the Great continued his journey to conquer the Persian Empire. The Persian king, Darius III, was still alive and wanted to stop Alexander. He gathered a huge army to fight one final battle. This battle would decide the future of the Persian Empire. It was called the Battle of Gaugamela, and it took place in 331 BCE. Darius chose a large, flat field near a place called Gaugamela, in modern-day Iraq. He believed that the open space would help his large army and war chariots. Some say he had over 200,000 soldiers, while Alexander had only about 40,000. But Alexander's army was better trained, and Alexander was a better leader. Before the battle, Alexander spoke to his men. He reminded them of their past victories and said they were fighting not just for land, but for glory and history. His soldiers trusted him and were ready to follow him anywhere. The battle began early in the morning. Darius sent his chariots forward, hoping to break Alexander's lines. But Alexander had a smart plan. His soldiers moved quickly to the sides, making space for the chariots to pass, and then attacked them from behind. This trick worked well. Then Alexander led a strong attack right at the center of the Persian army, aiming for Darius himself. Once again, just like in the Battle of Issus, Darius became afraid and ran away. When the Persian soldiers saw their king fleeing, many of them also ran. Alexander won a great victory. After the battle, Alexander continued to chase Darius. He wanted to capture him and end the war completely. But Darius was betrayed by his own men. They wounded him badly and left him to die. When Alexander found him, Darius was almost dead. According to stories, Darius thanked Alexander before he died. He asked Alexander to look after his family and to rule with kindness. Alexander was sad that he could not save Darius. He gave him a royal funeral and punished the men who had killed him. With Darius dead, the Persian Empire came to an end. Alexander now controlled almost all of it. He entered the great Persian cities, Babylon, Susa, and Persepolis. These cities were full of gold, jewels, and beautiful buildings. Alexander took the riches, but he also respected the culture. He allowed the local people to keep their customs and religions. The Battle of Gaugamela and the fall of Darius were important moments in history. They showed that Alexander was not just a strong fighter, but also a wise and respectful ruler. He had defeated one of the biggest empires in the world and become the new king of Asia. This victory made Alexander more powerful than ever. But his journey was not over. He still wanted to explore new lands and reach the edge of the world. Chapter 8: March to India and the Battle of the Hydaspes. After defeating the Persian Empire and becoming the ruler of a vast land, Alexander the Great wanted to continue his journey. His dream was to reach the edge of the known world. He had already conquered much of Asia, but now he looked east, towards India. In 327 BCE, Alexander and his army began their march to India. The journey was long and hard. The soldiers had to cross high mountains, wide rivers, and thick forests. They faced heavy rains, hot weather, and wild animals. But Alexander never gave up. He always led from the front, giving strength and courage to his men. As Alexander entered India, he met many small kingdoms. Some kings welcomed him, but others tried to fight. Alexander's army was strong, and they won many battles. But the biggest challenge came when they reached the land of King Porus, a brave and powerful ruler. King Porus ruled a kingdom near the Hydaspes River, now called the Jhelum River, in modern-day Pakistan. He had a large army and many war elephants, which the Greeks had never seen before in battle. The elephants were huge, strong, and frightening. They could crush soldiers and horses with ease. The Battle of the Hydaspes took place in 326 BCE. It was one of the toughest battles Alexander ever fought. Before the battle, Alexander used a smart plan. He crossed the river at night during a storm to surprise Porus. This clever move helped him gain an advantage. When the battle began, Porus's elephants charged at Alexander's soldiers. Many men were scared, but Alexander told them to stay calm. His archers and horsemen attacked the elephants from the sides. Slowly, they confused the animals and caused them to run wild. Then, Alexander's soldiers fought the rest of Porus's army. The battle was long and difficult, but Alexander's plan worked. At last, King Porus was defeated. However, Alexander was impressed by Porus's courage and leadership. When Porus was brought before him, Alexander asked, "How would you like to be treated?" Porus replied, "Like a king." Alexander smiled and said, "You shall have it." He returned Porus's land to him and even gave him more territory to rule. This showed Alexander's respect for brave leaders, even if they were his enemies. The Battle of the Hydaspes was Alexander's last great victory. After the battle, his soldiers were tired. They had marched for years and were far from home. They begged Alexander to stop and return west. At first he was sad, but he agreed. The march to India and the Battle of the Hydaspes showed Alexander's courage, clever thinking, and respect for others. He had reached the edge of the known world and won the hearts of many people. Though his journey of conquest ended here, his story was not yet finished. Chapter 9, Return to Babylon and Final Days of Alexander the Great. After many years of fighting and traveling, Alexander the Great decided to return home. His army was tired, and he had reached the far edge of the known world. In 324 BCE, he began his long journey back to Babylon, the great city in the center of his empire. The journey back was not easy. Alexander chose a difficult path through the desert in southern Iran. Many soldiers and animals died from hunger, thirst, and heat. It was one of the hardest parts of the journey. Still, Alexander kept moving forward. He helped his men and shared their pain. This made his soldiers love him even more. When Alexander finally reached Babylon, he was welcomed like a hero. People from many lands came to see him. He had become one of the most powerful and famous rulers in the world. But Alexander did not stop working. Even after returning, he continued to make big plans. He wanted to explore Arabia, build more cities, and bring people from different cultures together. Alexander also tried to unite the people in his empire. He arranged many marriages between his soldiers and local women. He encouraged the mix of Greek and Eastern customs. He believed that people from different lands could live and grow together in peace. But then, something unexpected happened. In June 323 BCE, Alexander became very sick in Babylon. No one knows exactly what caused his illness. Some believe it was a fever from malaria, while others think it may have been from poison or an infection. His condition got worse quickly, and after a few days, he could not speak. Alexander was only 32 years old when he died. His soldiers and friends were shocked and heartbroken. They had followed him across thousands of miles. Now, their great leader was gone. Before he died, someone asked Alexander who should take his place. It is said that he replied, "To the strongest." This answer caused many years of fighting after his death, as different generals tried to take control of his empire. Even though Alexander died young, his legacy lived on. His empire was the largest the world had ever seen at that time. He had brought together people from Europe, Asia, and Africa. His cities, especially Alexandria in Egypt, became centers of learning and culture for many years. Alexander changed the world in just 13 years. He showed that one man with a dream, courage, and a strong will could shape history. His name is still remembered today as one of the greatest leaders of all time. The return to Babylon and the final days of Alexander the Great remind us that even the strongest heroes are human. His body may have died, but his ideas and spirit continue to live on. Chapter 10, Death and Legacy of Alexander the Great. Alexander the Great, one of the most famous leaders in history, died in 323 BCE in the city of Babylon. He was only 32 years old. His death came as a great shock to his friends, soldiers, and the entire empire. Just days before, he was planning new journeys and new cities. Then suddenly, he became very sick with a high fever. Some say he had malaria, others think it was typhoid, or maybe he was poisoned. Even today, nobody knows the exact reason. As his health got worse, Alexander could not speak. His soldiers came to see him one last time. They walked past his bed in silence, many of them crying. They loved him deeply. He had led them through battles, deserts, and across thousands of miles. They were not just his army. They were his loyal followers. Before he died, someone asked Alexander, "Who will rule after you?" He answered, "To the strongest." This short answer caused a lot of confusion. Alexander had no clear plan for who would take his place. After his death, his generals started fighting for power. This led to many years of war. Alexander's great empire did not stay united. It was divided among his top generals, who became rulers of different parts. Even though the empire broke into pieces, Alexander's ideas and influence did not disappear. In fact, they continued to grow. One of Alexander's biggest gifts to the world was the spreading of Greek culture. He built many cities, and most of them were filled with Greek buildings, art, and learning. The most famous city he built was Alexandria in Egypt. It became a center for science, philosophy, and books. People from many different lands came to study and learn there. Alexander also showed respect for the cultures he conquered. He wore local clothes, followed some local customs, and even married women from different places. This helped people feel connected, not just conquered. He believed in bringing people together, not pushing them apart. Even though he lived a short life, Alexander's legacy is huge. He is remembered as a brave warrior, a smart leader, and a man with a big dream. His name is still known all over the world today. Statues, books, movies, and even places are named after him. He showed that one person, with vision and courage, can change the world. His life taught us the power of dreaming big and never giving up. Though his empire did not last, his ideas did. His cities, especially Alexandria, helped spread knowledge and culture for hundreds of years. Alexander the Great may have died young, but his story will live on forever. He left behind more than just land. He left behind a legacy of leadership, learning, and unity. Vocabularies. 1. Empire, a large group of countries or areas ruled by one leader or government. 2. Conquer, to win control over a place or people by using force. 3. Legacy, something left behind by someone after they die, such as ideas, achievements, or fame. 4. Respect, a feeling of deep admiration for someone because of their qualities or achievements. 5. Battlefield, a place where a fight or war takes place. 6. Strategy, a careful plan used to win a battle or achieve a goal. 7. Hero, a person who is admired for being brave or doing something great. 8. Customs, traditional ways of doing things in a culture or society. 9. Victory, success in a fight, battle, or competition. 10. Unity, the state of being joined or working together as one. Quiz questions. 1. Where was Alexander the Great born? 2. Who was Alexander's famous teacher during his education? 3. At what age did Alexander become the king of Macedonia? 4. What was the name of the first major battle Alexander won against the Persian army? 5. Which Indian king did Alexander defeat at the Battle of the Hydaspes? 6. What famous city did Alexander found in Egypt? 7. In which battle did Alexander defeat Darius III for the final time? 8. What difficult journey did Alexander and his army take after the Battle of the Hydaspes? 9. In which city did Alexander fall ill and die? 10. What was Alexander's reply when asked who should rule after his death? Thank you so much for listening. We hope you enjoyed learning with us. If you like this content, please like, subscribe, and share it with your friends and family. Your support helps us grow and bring you more inspiring stories and easy English learning content. Do you have a topic you'd like us to cover in our next video? Maybe a famous person, an invention, or a country? Let us know in the comments or messages. We'd love to hear your ideas. You can find answers for the quiz questions in the description. Thanks again, and keep learning with us. See you in the next video.